Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5, driven by Borton Volvo, America's most awarded Volvo retailer.
Guardsy is out today, tomorrow, and Friday. He is tracking the Go to Go for women's basketball team on the West Coast. And that means on Friday, we'll be joined by Brett Blakemore. And today and tomorrow, it's our guy, part-time guy, Max. And he brings us today's edition of the Top 5. What do you got?
The Wolves will look to shine like gold in the Copper State tonight as they face off against the Suns in Phoenix. Both teams are riding a 3-game win streak into the matchup. Phoenix in particular, though, has been solar powered as of late, winning 8 of their last 10. Kevin Durant is questionable to play with a thumb injury. As you know, as we all know, Dan, the solar system is heliocentric, but the sun system has been Durantiocentric as Phoenix is just 1-9 without KD this season. AZ may be the home of the Grand Canyon, but the gap between the Wolves is anything but grand as the Wolves have just a half-game lead on Phoenix in the Western Conference standings. Tip-off is around 8 p.m.
I've got a basketball nugget I think that you will appreciate, a pro basketball nugget. Yeah, I mean, the Wolves are in a stretch now where you say, okay, there's a lot of winnable games. This, I think, would be classified as one of them. I guess I was unaware that Phoenix has been hot, though, lately, relative to what they had been earlier, so maybe not so fast, my friend. Our old friend, Guardsy's good friend, Mike Trudell, who's the Lakers reporter, he's one of us. He had noted the other day the number of 40-20 games since Anthony Davis came into the league is in 40 points and 20 rebounds. And apparently Anthony Davis has 5. Greek Freak's got 3. Embiid's got 3. Cousins has 3. I wonder if he means, would that be DeMarcus Cousins? I would think.
Gotta be, yeah.
And 1 each, Joker, Doncic, Towns, and Wembanyama. Moses Malone, Trudell notes, has the most since the merger, 7. And Shaq has 4. To which an old friend, an old colleague of mine, Steve Ashburner, notes this about Wilt Chamberlain that will just, I think, blow your mind. Because he goes, Wilt Chamberlain's 40-20 games? 243 of them.
That's
243
ridiculous.
Regular season and playoffs. The Dipper played in his career 1,205 games. So 1 in every 5 games, he went at least 40-20. Think about that. If somebody did that today, that would break the internet, right? That guy would be 20. There'd be a Wilt Chamberlain channel. Right?
Oh, yeah, all day, 24/7 streaming, Wilt Chamberlain channel. That's incredible.
I did not. I knew he was prolific. I had no idea he was that prolific, including, by the way, in those games, he had a 78.43 rebound game, a 73.36 rebound game, a 68.34 rebound game, a 58.42 rebound game, and, of course, his famous 100-point game in which he also garnered 25 rebounds. Now, we get it. More shots were missed back then, so there were more rebounds. But those numbers just crack me up.
They're cartoonish.
They are cartoonish.
Those are like the stats. If you acquired and accumulated the stats of the Harlem Globetrotters against the Washington Generals, they're not even better than Wilt Chamberlain was against actual NBA players. It's incredible.
Stunning. And meanwhile, Trudell's all proud of, AD's had 5 of them. 5. Think about his whole career, 40 and 20.
Yes,
it's just so good. It is a good reminder to not forget what came in the past. And Wilt might still to this day be the most underappreciated player. Part of it because he didn't win as many championships as one would assume, given how prolific a scorer he was.
Especially considering his chief rival.
And that had a lot to do with it, 100%, because generally Bill Russell's supporting cast was better than Wilt's. But just mind-blowing stuff. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go right ahead.
No, that was mind-blowing, as you said. Are you familiar with ABBA?
Oh, God, yes.
Barrero?
Yes.
They once said, bye-bye doesn't mean forever. And the latest Jimmy Butler news may have Timberwolves fans saying, Mamma Mia, here we go again. Because according to an NBA insider, the Wolves may not be able to resist a reunion with Jimmy. Ian Bagley reports that the Wolves are a team to keep an eye on in a Butler deal, as the Heat were previously interested in Randle during the offseason. It wasn't specified whether this means the Wolves would be a third team needed in order to help facilitate a deal
or actually
looking to acquire Butler. And we all know Butler is not the dancing queen, young and sweet anymore, but he can still jive what he wants to and bring a spark that's much needed to a team. Phoenix and Golden State are the more realistic destinations for old Jimmy.
We did cite this rumor yesterday, and Begley's a good reporter, although, if, like you said, he's actually a little bit vague on whether they really are interested in Butler or just willing to be a part of a larger deal. I will tell you, this is how my brain works. 2 weeks ago, we discussed this possibility, and I think my reaction was after a really bad Julius Randle game. And so I said, yes, I would bleeping do it. Bring his ass back. I'll do it again. Now, since then, I think Butler's been suspended at least 2 more times.
Right.
And so even me as a bucket oboe, a bucket apologist, I don't think I could possibly even countenance the idea of bringing him back. I have not been led to believe the Wolves have any interest in him. As I said, I think Miami would do it in a minute because they have had previous interest in Randle and they're getting nothing out of Butler. Because the Butler problem now is twofold, right? He's insane at this point, it seems. And secondly, he plays every other game, even when he's sane. So what are you going to get out of the whole thing? Because in terms of mix, I'd say the Butler who's good in his prime, I'd say, yeah, I'd raise my hand for that. I think he would fit here really, really well. But I don't even know if that player exists. And mentally, I don't think he exists at all. So I think the larger question on Butler is he going to end up anywhere? Because everybody who trades for him knows he wants the big payoff. And I don't think anybody at this late date is willing to give him the money that he wants. So then you're back to why bother, right? To make the move. Even though, allegedly, Golden State has expressed some interest. But interest is something different than trading him. And I think the trade deadline is now right around the corner, Feb 6. So we'll see. And there's nothing to indicate the Wolves are on the brink of doing anything dramatic. Now, that could change in an instant. It takes just one phone call. But I think it's more likely there might be a minor deal. Maybe they get a backup center who can help a little bit. But I don't think right now, and I'm not sure there's that much of a market for Randle. And then as you say, well, if you trade him, are you getting anybody that's going to be able to help you right away? Or is that the concession speech? And then that's not a speech I think either ownership group at this point is willing to accept. And that's the other story to keep an eye on. I think we are finally in the stretch run on the big announcement. I think it's very likely it's going to take place within the next week that we will hear the resolution on who long-term is going to own your favorite basketball team, the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Very intrigued in that. Also, welcoming Jimmy back would be like, well, it's like when you let an ex back into your life that cheated on you. They already know they can get away with it, So what's he going to pull this time after all the antics that he pulled last time?
Yeah, there's not much left for him to do. You're right at this point. But again, my concern now is also just his health. I mean, is he how capable is he actually playing on consecutive nights, for example, or is he going to miss the rest of the way every other game? We all know this league craves talent, and they'll turn the other cheek when they think, but we can fix him, or he'll be happy here. But I think Butler, sadly, has come very perilously close to the place where there's not anybody that wants to take much of a chance on him.
While the idea of the United States buying Canada that's been floated recently may be a little far-fetched, Minnesota can own Toronto for just one night as the Wild match up with the Maple Leafs tonight in Toronto. The Queen City hockey team has been the kings of the Atlantic Division with 62 points, while the Wild, weirdly enough, occupy the number 3 spot in the Central Division, also with 62 points. I made the joke about Minnesota owning Toronto, but in reality, it's been the other way around, as the Wild have dropped 5 of their last 6 against the Maple Leafs, although they did score a 2-1 win when the two teams met earlier this season. Puck drop is around 6 p.m., and you can hear it right here on KFAN.
That's exactly why we are out early today. We had a nice conversation between 3:30 and 4 with Russo. And look, the Kaprizov story is the prevailing one. It's the big one. And there's a lot to chew on in that regard. And we discussed a lot of it with Russo. But the season marches on, and you have to figure out a way in the interim to not fade away. And they have generally been, the Wild, better on the road than they've been at home. Will that continue to be the case tonight? I don't know. They have a great opportunity to prove that they can be, even without them, a good road team. So we'll see where it goes. There's no question that the Kaprizov story is what's looming over this whole thing. And as we talked about with Russo, the most important question is, I think this was the move that had to be made, clearly, the surgery. The open question is, will this fix it? That's what they're hoping. But as Guerin told us yesterday on the show, you have a surgery, they look around, they probe, and maybe they find something else. There's always the open-ended nature of it and the possibility that it might linger. But going the route they were going, which was just throw him out there, see if he gets a little bit better day by day, and we'll accept that. That clearly wasn't working. So to me, you shut him down, you have him get the surgery, which I think is scheduled for Friday, and you hope that you have largely resolved the issue, because the timing being what it is, and that long lack of play in the National Hockey League for the tournament indicates that you're still going to get him back with plenty of time. Many dozens of games still to play to get himself back ready for whatever you're going to try to do in the postseason, which they want to do what the Wolves did last year. Obviously, they want to see if they can make a run at least the conference finals. We'll see.
Last one for me, a little bit of a 2-for-1 because it's a similar theme for both. They say the only constant is change, and change could be coming to two of our favorite leagues if it's up to Adam Silver and Bill Belichick, respectively. NBA fans might be feeling shortchanged if it's up to Adam Silver, because he suggested in a recent interview that he would like to see the NBA go from 12-minute quarters to 10-minute quarters, citing, as we were talked about earlier, modern television viewing habits. Bill Belichick, on the other hand, is suggesting that we replace Wisconsin cheese with goat cheese. Goat meaning greatest of all time in this case, as Bill suggests that the Super Bowl trophy be named after Brady rather than legendary Packers coach Vince Lombardi.
Yeah, those are interesting. I had not seen the Belichick one. I think Belichick's trying to make the larger point that we're supposedly the legends, but apparently trying to be self-deprecating to a fault. He's saying, well, it's really about the players. Belichick would not have been what he was without Brady. And there's obviously a lot of truth to that. I don't know if Brady would be at the top of my list to rename it after him. But these names, I think a lot of this too is, it feels like Brady's still too recent.
Yeah.
And those other names are such historical names that go back so far. And what was the first thing you mentioned?
Adam Silver wants to change 12-minute quarters to 10-minute quarters in the NBA, because he said, considering the global game, he said the NBA is the only one that does 12 instead of 10.
It's a thought. I don't think I'd be offended by it.
No.
Would you?
No, I wouldn't be offended by it, especially if it keeps guys healthier in these long seasons.
And even where you got a little more intensity, whatever. Yeah, right. That's something worth considering. I'll tell you, there's a couple of good trade rumors that have come in that we'll discuss. We'll do a short segment when we come back, and then we will indeed get Kessler in studio for the final half hour of the show. A lot of stuff to discuss nationally, politically, and within the state as well. One more chance to put $1,000 in your hand. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The fan wants to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword check at KFAN.com now for your shot at winning. That's keyword check. Enter now at KFAN.com.
Back with a little more, and then Special K. I even have to, I'm going to present him with a surprise gift this afternoon at 5:30. Stay tuned.
Wow.
It's Wild Wednesday on the Fan, presented by Jim Beam, family made and crafted. We've got your tickets to see the Wild in action. Be caller 11 right now to win a pair of tickets for the February 6th game when the Wild take on the Carolina Hurricanes. Call 800-320-5326 right now.
Speaking of palpable sense of dread, Kessler will be with us next segment. We are out at 6 tonight for, as Max mentioned, Minnesota Wild hockey. They are in Toronto this evening to take on the Maple Leafs. You can hear Wolves Suns on the Timberwolves channel, which of course is also an iHeart specialty. The new iHeartRadio app is an outstanding improvement over the last version. You got presets. You can scan, almost as if you're looking at a radio dial in front of you. I think it's very well thought out and very well put together. And the beauty of it, as we like to say, is it's free. It does not cost you even a penny. We were talking about the Jimmy Butler rumors and the ongoing Julius Randle rumors. And so this individual, 651 guy, has suggested the following deal. Butler goes to Phoenix. Randle goes to Miami. And Durantula comes to Minnesota. What do you think? He's old, he writes, but if Randle's gone next year anyway, let's go. Well, if you go back to when even the trade was made, the Towns trade for Dante and Randle and a pick, there were murmurings even then that, okay, we're intrigued with what Randle represents. We think he's going to bring some toughness and some physicality to what we do, maybe a little less finessey. And maybe that'll help us in the postseason. Another guy who can kind of make his own shot. But because of his contract situation and because you're never sure until you go through the process to find out how he fits, might be a chip for us. And the fantasy scenario as it was laid out then was Phoenix unravels. And it unravels, the Suns unravel to such a degree that they are ready to unload Durantula. And as we talked about then, who loves Durantula? Anthony Edwards. Who outside his own teammates, name me another NBA player who is as fascinated with Anthony Edwards as Kevin Durant? The answer is there's none. So, in a fantasy world, you say, well, let's keep that door open. He is old, but if you're asking me would I do that, the answer is yes, I would. Would you not do that?
What was the trade again? I didn't hear.
Oh, you were busy giving away tickets. Three-way deal. Butler goes to the Suns.
Okay.
Randle goes to Miami. Durantula to us.
Hell yeah! Oh my God! I couldn't say yes fast enough.
You'd have to, even though he's not what he was, he's still damn good. Given Randle, they're not. I don't think they want to sign Randle to a long-term contract, even if they're going to try to make it. They don't want to make him the villain about anything. So, but I still don't know where Phoenix is now. Maybe the Ishbia brothers, if they really want to buy the Twins, they'd say, "Well, how can we ingratiate ourselves to the market?" That's what we'll do. We'll send Durantula there, and then. But the problem is, though, the Ishbia brother who's in charge of the Suns presumably still wants to be relevant as the Suns owner. Right. So I don't know if it's all that easy. I don't even know how the contracts would work. But I do know, in all honesty, behind the scenes, you heard this all the time, that there's a little voice saying, well, maybe somehow, some way, we could put Durantula together with Anthony Edwards. Whether it actually is anything more than a, fantasy, I think it's probably likely that it is. But it's an interesting one to think about for sure.
Absolutely. And it feels like one of those things almost, it's getting to the point where, like we talked about earlier, we heard Cat to New York so many different times
Very
that
true.
you have to start believing where there's smoke, where there's fire.
Yes.
Now we're starting to hear a little bit, it's infrequent, but frequent enough, Kevin Durant to Minnesota, that there must have been some type of conversation about this, whether it's between Ant and KD or management or whatever, but there has to be some type of conversation that's taken place.
The other issue, of course, is the money. I don't think the money matches. And then the other, we have, for now, we still have some quote-unquote second apron issues that might get in the way of the deal. But it's fun conversation. It's fun. It's fun fodder, I guess, is the best way that I would indeed put it. So, unfortunately, there are restrictions. There's salary cap things that have to match up. What else you could do, how inventive you could be involving players on other teams. Who's to say? So maybe it just ends up being one of those things that we fantasize over. Who, as I said, who can say? Lance in Chaska writes, if they rename the Super Bowl trophy, the Vikings could have their names etched into the biblically bad Bible as one of the only teams to never hoist, the Lombardi trophy. Of course, Buffalo is in the same boat, and I think there's probably some Vikings fans rooting for them or would have rooted for them to make it and then lose again. So then that would have been the Buffalo's 5th loss, and they would have had one more loss than we have. Did you know, by the way, I don't think we've ever talked about this with you on the show. The Vikings, it's fairly well known, they've lost 4 Super Bowls, right? Did you know that the Vikings have not scored a single point in the first halves of any of those games?
My God.
Shut out in all 4 Super Bowls in the first half. No points. 0. The next point we score in a Super Bowl, if we ever get there, will be our first.
Dear God, it doesn't get more Minnesota sports than that even when you make it to the big game, you don't necessarily make it to the big game.
It's sad, but unfortunately quite true. All right, let's do this. Let's break so we have plenty of time, extra time with Special K. Lots going on nationally, and a lot of it seems as if there's a series, there's like a Surwanga to the backpedal by the Trump administration regarding several of the edicts that have come down that have gotten people's attention in the last 24 hours. We'll discuss that. Are we getting any closer to a deal at the state capitol between the lefties and the righties on the House side? What's happening there? A lot of negotiating and a number of other things. In fact, a present as well that I have to present to Special K, Pat Kessler. If you have questions for him, hit the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line. That is 64686.
I wish the American media would take a great look at the views of the people in Congress and find out, are they pro-America or anti-America?
Pat Kessler.
Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
I can't trust Obama. He's an Arab.
Pat Kessler.
Tear down this wall.
I did nothing wrong at the Minneapolis airport.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Pat Kessler.
And now, to help Dan break down all the tough questions in politics, it's our own
Pat Kessler.
Political Wonk.
I feel like a supermodel, except like times 10.
It's Channel 4's
Pat Kessler.
with Dan Barrero on the Fan.
All right, we got to move fast today. We got a good solid half hour to get to everything. But first, I must pass along to you a gift that was sent from our guy, David Schuster. His moniker is Glass Blower Guy, and apparently Ganja Guy too, because he sent when in preparation for Rocco appearing on our show, he made some assumptions about Rocco, and he crafted an absolutely gorgeous hookah.
No.
Yeah. Now Rocco didn't take it. I convinced Twins officials to take it and just say, put it on the mantle as like a piece of art because it's beautiful. And he also included in the box a gift for you. So here you go. You can. I have no idea what it is. Unroll it, if you know what I mean. See what's in there.
Yeah. So it's a beautifully wrapped in plastic, a little bubble plastic.
Hey, by the way, it said before the marker wore off, Kessie Skyuma lot is what it said. So I don't know what what does it look? How would you describe it?
Well, this is the most beautiful piece of glass. Schuster, the glass blower. And it is, let's see how big a blunt I can fit into this one. Oh my God, this is the most beautiful. It's the old days for if you were sophisticated, you'd have the cigarette holder.
Yes.
This is the most beautiful.
Is that a blunt holder?
I guess.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, so.
Part-time guy Max, you're going to have to help us here because this is.
I think that's just a bowl.
Yeah.
Is that just a flat out?
I think it's a bowl. It's a little one-y.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I mean, I would put that, if I had a church, I would just make the stained glass, the windows but
It's
whatever
too
that is
good.
made out of.
So it's a beautiful glass with kind of a blue milk glass interior. And yeah,
Isn't that gorgeous?
Would you say for you, Max, this is one hit?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can smoke that down in one hit.
This is one hit.
That's one hit?
Snoop Dogg,
me,
that's like half a hit.
I was going to say.
It's like, I'm
better than you than me.
Yeah, so this must be.
So that's yours. There you go.
Oh, my God, I'm bringing it to the Sky Umala.
Now, he did also, he included some drinks, THC drinks, and also some THC cheddar-flavored pretzels.
Where are they?
Well, I gave them to other people.
Come on, man. I have the most beautiful one.
I think you do. I think that thing is gorgeous.
Well,
Are you touched a little bit?
I'm actually verklempt.
Yeah, I would think
I'm
you
going to
would
take a photo of this.
You never know what kind of gifts come our way, and there you have it.
And so the next thing
I'm impressed with this work.
Well, it's absolutely absolutely beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful piece of art.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a photo of it. I'm going to post it.
Okay, perfect.
And
can you do that legally? It's legal.
So we can, I think you can post something like this. So Max, at the break, will you come in and fill this for me?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll fill it
Why
for
not?
you. I mean, I don't, with legal tobacco,
that's
wink,
what I meant.
wink, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I'd fill it with.
All right,
yeah.
This is just beautiful. So thank you.
Yeah, that's again.
That's absolutely, well, I'm touched.
David Schuster.
I'm touched by the emotion from you, but also for the wonderful gesture.
Yeah. And he thought of you. I mean, he had you on the list. Which
Isn't
I
that
thought was
funny how people think of me when
very impressive
when they are thinking of a one-hit wonder?
Yeah. And by the way, we still don't have a high commissioner in the state, correct?
That is correct.
That's ongoing.
Everything is chaos everywhere,
that's
including
true.
Where is the high commissioner? I mean, the legislature is pretty much shut down. We're heading to a deficit. President Trump has canceled all the money coming to Minnesota and everywhere else for now. We'll get to that in a moment. And we don't have a high commissioner. So what are we going to do?
You tell me what's the biggest crisis. All right, let's start with, tell me if this is the latest. I feel like there's a Sirwanga to the Sirwanga to the Sirwanga. Trump has rescinded his freeze on federal aid, but yet the confusion continues to be ongoing because there seem to be several asterisks. What's the latest?
Well, here's the latest. As most people know, President Trump suspended all federal aid for 30 days, federal aid to states for every program. There's much uncertainty about what this really meant. I need to point out that Medicare, Social Security, food stamps were untouched in this.
But we didn't know that originally, did we?
We did not. We knew Medicare and Social Security was untouched. Had no idea, and it appeared that the White House wasn't sure if food stamps are. But in any event, people went crazy. You don't know what's happening. Confusion, chaos, everywhere in the country because he cut it off immediately. So how are people going to get money for their cold weather heating assistance? How are we going to fund Meals on Wheels, that kind of thing? So there was a lot of anguish and gnashing of teeth all across the land. So today, I mean, while you're on the air, within the last hour or so, President Trump said, I'm not going to do it. So he withdrew the order. So canceled that order that he was going to suspend all federal aid and has just withdrawn it. And it's just kind of the oddest thing. He's pausing but not eliminating all the national chaos. I think people think that if he could do it once, he will probably do it again. But, Barrero, this is what you voted for.
Correct.
So,
Can't be surprised. Well,
don't be surprised.
Your guy said that. Emmer, I believe. Wasn't that the Tom Emmer
don't
quote?
be surprised. And he's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong. But that still doesn't mean...
voted for disruption, but did they vote for chaos?
I'm not sure they did.
Did they?
Let me give you an example of
vote for blowing it up?
Well, this goes to another level beyond chaos. The question is, again, legality. As I understand it, and you probably know these details more than I, 17 federal watchdogs were fired by Trump. I think this was on Friday, called the Friday Night Purge, right? In fact, there's a story that one of them the Inspector General of the U.S. Department of Agriculture basically had to be escorted out of her office yesterday Monday, because she said, I'm not complying because I don't think what you did is legal. In fact, I thought there was a joint statement from a righty and a lefty on the Senate side, whose names now escape me, basically a letter to Trump saying, you can't do this. You didn't give us a 30-day notice. You can't do this. So, there's chaos, but then that doesn't mean that we're not allowed to say, well, can you legally do this? So where are we on that story?
Well, here's the thing. Where we are with that is that they believe, the Trump administration believes that they have the power and the right to do this, to fire the inspectors general. For those who are unfamiliar, the inspectors general are the people in the U.S. government that are the watchdogs. They're the ones who go after people stealing money, like let's say, Feeding Our Future. That's what they do.
Well, according to Trump, these are rogue partisan bureaucrats who have been relieved of their duties in order to make room for qualified individuals who will uphold the rule of law and protect democracy.
Says the man who ran for office because Biden's weaponizing government. So he is weaponizing the government. But here's the thing about this. I want to be really clear. If people want to get outraged, why don't you pick things that are worth getting outraged about? Is the firing of 17 inspectors general worth getting worked up about, or is the
if it's illegal,
funding,
yes.
As Lindsey Graham said, it's technically illegal, but we'll the next time follow the law.
Okay.
That's what he said. So here, it's technically illegal because he has to have 30 days notice.
Right.
You give him 30 days notice to February 27th, and then you have to write a letter saying, here are the reasons. So, do it in 30 days. He has the right to fire all these people. So my point is, are the Democrats going to get upset about every little thing? Because the chaos, as the movie title...
Is that the strategy?
That's the strategy. Flood the zone. And the chaos, as the Academy Award-winning movie title from a couple of years ago, Everything Everywhere All at Once. You just flood the zone with BS, the real word, and then figure it out. Pick what you're going to be outraged about. Just today, we had Robert F. Kennedy Jr. out doing his stuff. We had Trump rescinding the chaotic order. Then he announces he is going to build a 30,000-bed detention facility for illegal immigrants on Guantanamo Bay. What do you want to get outraged about? Pick one. Because there's going to be several of these every single day. By the way,
yes.
Did the funding cuts that he announced a couple of days ago, and I'm not convinced they're going to be going away forever, did that include your favorite project in Minnesota, Southwest Light Rail?
We can only hope.
How about that?
We can only hope. That would be a blessing.
He's a hero?
Yeah, he might end up on that one being heroic at this late date. By the way, you mentioned RFK Jr.
Mm-hmm.
He testified today, right?
He did.
And I noticed that he at one point mentioned that people are unhappy with Medicaid and that premiums are too high. But I've read elsewhere that the fatal flaw with that observation is that Medicaid has no premiums. So we're back to, do facts matter at all? Does
anybody really know what's going on? And are you qualified to be the head of this agency?
Well, you sound conflicted on RFK Jr.
Well, I am very conflicted, but I want to say that he appeared to not understand what the programs of this $1 trillion agency actually did. He confused repeatedly Medicare and Medicaid.
Yes.
He wasn't sure what exactly some of the other programs like Dr. Oz is going to be in charge of. I mean, those are the kinds of things. If they had drilled down on your guy, Pete Hegseth, our Minnesota guy, you may have found
Secretary
some of the
Defense.
same things. He's now the SecDef.
SecDef, as we like to say in the business.
As I like to call him. But I am conflicted about RFK Jr. because he does have, on the one hand, what I think are really out there ideas about vaccines, conspiracy theories. and that are false.
He confirmed today that he once suggested that Lyme disease was a created bioweapon.
A bioweapon.
And he admitted, he said, "Yeah, I probably said that." But then did he like continue to own it? Did he or did he say, "Well, it was the brainworm"?
I may have said it. I don't remember saying that. Okay. Well, I have the transcript right here, Mr. Kennedy. Well, I don't. That's not what I believe now. He also he backtracked on vaccines, which he has repeatedly and made millions of dollars off, linking it to autism, linking childhood vaccines, measles, mumps, rubella, all of those, and says that they are dangerous. And at one point, not 10 years ago, not 5 years ago, last year, said that there is no safe vaccine for anyone. No one is safe from, there's no completely safe vaccine. So, that is conspiracy theory stuff way out there. He says, I'm not anti-vaccine, I'm pro-safety. So you got that on the one hand. On the other hand, he is an environmental activist who wants to clean up the poison in the water, which is a good thing to do, to go after the agricultural industry, the industrial ag complex, because of all the pesticides that we use, processed foods, all of that.
He wants us to eat healthier food.
I mean, what is wrong with that?
No, but it's the same guy. That's the problem.
That's the thing. And so you've got the left of the left, the lefties, and the righties on the righty rights, and they're all together on this. You got the granola crunching moms from Oregon who love this guy. And so I don't know. I am conflicted because it's fascinating. And should Trump have who he wants?
Are you familiar with Punch Bowl News?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yes.
This was I want to get your reaction to that. We don't have to necessarily spend a lot of time on this. This was from earlier in the day. They called this a scoop. The White House wants to prevent the Senate Commerce Committee from adopting a rules package that would give Chairman Ted Cruz unilateral subpoena authority to go after big tech companies that Trump has cozied up to. And so the implication here is they want to block Cruz's ability to subpoena unilaterally those big tech companies because Trump is now in bed to the degree that he seems to be in bed with those companies. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I don't know that, but there's a disconnect here because for the last 4 years, President Trump and the Republicans in general in Congress have said that the tech companies were weaponized against them by the Democrats, and we're not going to allow that to happen, and that they would sublimate all of the conservative views on Twitter, and that all of the podcasts were being hidden from everybody and censored. Now, what are the top 10 websites? What are the top 10 social media? What are the top 10? They're all conservative. Television stations, podcasts, everything. So that seems to me to be, once again, preventing people from going after anybody that Trump likes, like the broligarchs, as they are now known, who sat in the front row at the inaugural.
Where was I going next? Tell me about the condoms back into Gaza.
What do you mean condoms?
$50 million worth of condoms, apparently. Why is it?
How about that?
Why do we need? What's the deal there? That's quite an expenditure. And how many condoms can you finance with $50 million?
I've actually done a deep dive on this.
That doesn't surprise me.
Why wouldn't you? So they're making the claim that in the money that they are freezing, and this is coming out of the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, and also Doge, apparently Elon Musk, who will soon be going to space to rescue the astronauts who are stranded in space. Apparently they discovered what they said repeatedly, and President Trump said again today, I stopped $50 million in aid going to Gaza, which was intended to be used for condoms. Can you explain this to me?
No, I need one for you. I want the truth. Well, so is that
you can't handle the truth?
Were we financing that? I mean, I know
there's
safe sex is important.
Of this.
Oh, there's no evidence.
There's no evidence. Yes, and reproductive freedom is really important in the devastated Gaza countryside. Now, here's the thing I want to say: how many people are in Gaza? So, 2 million.
Right.
Let's just say half of them are men. 1 million. Let's say, or male. let's say half of the million are children. So you got 500,000 adult males. $50 million in condoms. Condoms cost how much, Dan? I'm just going to ask.
$1.50? I don't know.
A buck or less.
Is that true?
It's a buck or less. If you buy them in bulk,
as you've been known
as
to do.
many people do. Max, you tell me.
Yeah,
I usually get them for free from.
Oh, geez, from gas station gas station restrooms is where you get it.
That's another story.
This is apparently something that is out there now. It's in the ecosystem, in the news ecosystem, and there doesn't appear to be any evidence for this. There is some money that has gone for reproductive health, but none of it goes to the Mideast except a few years ago, $10,000 went to Jordan. So no one knows where this comes from. I want to see some proof. But by the numbers, 50 million seems like a lot of condoms.
It seems like it's a bunch.
That's a lot of condoms.
All right. So are we any closer? If we move closer to our current location, St. Paul, Minnesota, there's been a lot of words of encouragement by both sides that, hey, we're working towards something. On the House side, we're figuring it out. Give us a minute or two. But is there any reason to believe that a resolution, some sort of compromise, is actually in sight?
No. There were no talks today, apparently. And today, I think, is day 15, day 16 of the Democrats boycotting the Minnesota House because they haven't reached some sort of power-sharing agreement. Republicans claim that they are in control with 67 votes, but the Supreme Court ruled you need 68. So they're coming in here, and the Democrats are still boycotting the session. Republicans are getting more and more upset about it. And the Secretary of State went in and gavelled them out of order because there aren't enough people there. So if you don't have enough people, you can't do business. That's called a quorum. So we got that going on. Meanwhile, over in the Senate, your gal, Senator Nicole Mitchell, accused of felony burglary. That's now going into like the 7th year. Didn't that happen
It feels like it was, a decade ago.
Yeah, right. It happened almost 2 years ago. The Democratic senator who is charged with breaking into her stepmother's house in the middle of the night and trying to steal stuff. She is going on trial. She successfully delayed her trial until after the legislature. Republicans failed to expel her. So that's going on over there. But now Democrats have a 1-vote majority there. So maybe they can get to work on something, but you can't do it without both of them. So it's wild.
Why can't your guy, am I asking too much from your guy, Tim Walz, to try to be, quote unquote, presidential? What would be the other term? Because he's not president, but he's the governor. That he can't attempt to exert some leadership that goes beyond his own party as well to say, let's sit down, all of us, and we're going to figure this damn thing out that is as workable and fair as possible. Well, why is that a pie in the sky? Isn't that what leadership is supposed to be about?
Well, many governors use their positions, and it's a very, very powerful one, to call all the sides together, get everybody in a room, and try and figure out some sort of a compromise. And sometimes it takes forever, but I don't know of any instances in the last 15 days, and our listeners can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't know of instances in the last 15 days where Governor Walz has, in fact, invited Republicans and Democrats into the office, take them out to dinner, bring them over to the governor's residence. We don't know of that. They are scrambling for things like President Trump cutting all the aid coming to Minnesota. So, no, we don't know of that yet. We don't know what's happening behind the scenes. But it's hard to believe that they're not going to be able to get any work done until at least mid-March. What is this, still January?
It is, it'll be Feb 1 on Saturday. So, yeah, it's January 29th. The acerbic comeback is, we don't really do anything to the last few minutes anyway. But
that's true.
There's a comeback to that, as you know. Mm-hmm. There may not be any resolution till the very end, and it may have to be carried forward. But there are allegedly hearings going on in the meantime where some of this stuff is hopefully being
It's all
discussed and vetted, right?
Absolutely. This happens. And I totally get the argument that they never settle anything till the very end.
Right.
Well, there are hearings going on all the time, doing deep dives on very important issues in the state of Minnesota. What I fear that is going to happen here is that nobody has done any work until you get to the very end, and then we go back to those smoke-filled rooms where you get 3, 4, 5 people together, and they just decide whatever the hell they want. And here you go. That's your state of Minnesota. So something's got to give here pretty soon.
But nothing is giving in your mind right now. We're not close.
Not yet.
By any sense.
Absolutely not.
Again, I think you got a lovely gift to leave with.
Thank you so much, Schuster. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
Really, really cool.
It's gorgeous.
Me and Max are gonna hang out right after.
I think you should. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Take the edge off a little bit.
Because I got one.
It's legal.
I got one.
Is it not legal?
It's absolutely legal.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty upset about the condoms in Gaza.
I
want to get going.
You're not alone there.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week, I hope.
Yes, sir.
That's special K. Pat Kessler. Music now, because we've got Minnesota Wild hockey coming up at the top of the hour, right to the opening faceoff. We are in Toronto tonight. The Maple Leafs, the opponent. We're back. Max and I are back tomorrow, beginning at 3.